Hi, I'm Sofia Bernardi, mindset and business coach supporting ambitious new and rising coaches to master their mindset, create an aligned and profitable strategy, and grow a six-figure business and beyond using the Rising Coach method. I built a $500,000 business by the age of 24, and in this podcast, I will teach you the psychology, strategy, and energetics to do the same. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the 100th episode of Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi. Guys, we did it. We made it to 100 episodes in a row. I cannot believe that I have had this podcast for 100 weeks. We have not missed a week, and I am so honored, proud, and grateful to be here. And I'm so grateful that you are here, whether you have been listening for 1 week, 2 weeks, or the entire time. I'm just so grateful you are here. It's such a surreal feeling. If you followed me at all or my journey in the last couple of years, you'll know that I am such a big believer of consistency. I really believe that consistency pays off, and this podcast has been so rewarding for so many different reasons. And the reason I've been able to reap the rewards of the podcast is due to the consistency of it. So I've had the honor of interviewing so many incredible guests from all over the world who have different strengths and personalities and expertise that I've been able to bring into this space. I've been able to share with you my story, my struggles, my wins, my highs, my lows, and everything in between with you so that you can normalize your experience, learn from me, grow from me, learn from my mistakes so that you don't have to make them, and so forth. I've had the honor of being interviewed on so many other people's podcasts because they found me through mine. And I've also had so many of you join my programs from finding the podcast. And that to me is just so special. I'm sitting here currently visualizing a select few people who have reached out to me from finding my podcast and then deciding to work with me just because they felt like they could connect to me via this podcast. And I just find that to be the coolest thing, and I don't take it for granted for even 1 second. So I'm so excited to share with you that this is our 100th episode, and I wanted this episode to be extremely special because it is the triple digits of the podcast. And so I thought that I would get my beautiful coach, Ellie Swift, to come in and interview me. So I'm going to be giving the mic to her, and she's actually going to ask me questions for once. So bit of a change up from the usual episodes where I'm either just talking to you or I'm interviewing others. Today, I'm actually being interviewed. So what I did is I asked you guys on social media to ask me any questions you wanted me to answer. We collected all of the questions, and Ellie is going to ask me them. So I don't know the order. I don't know all of the questions. She's put in some of her own as well. And I'm really excited to dive deep and be very real and raw and transparent and vulnerable as per usual, of course, so that you can learn from me and we can have a little bit of fun. I'm so grateful for all of the questions that were sent through. And before we get into this episode, I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. I've got goosebumps as I'm saying this. Thank you for being on my journey. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for loving on me. Thank you for rating and reviewing the podcast. Thank you for messaging me after every episode saying your favorite takeaways. Thank you for sharing the podcast on your Instagram stories or sharing it with your friends and loved ones. Thank you. It just means the world to me. There's no way I would have the life that I do and the lifestyle that I have if it wasn't for you guys. Truly, truly, I wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be who I am without all of you. So thank you so much for all of the loving support, and please feel free to continue to do so. Please share this episode on your Instagram stories or with your friends and family that you think may resonate and get value out of the podcast, because it's my baby. I love it. I love adding value here at a level that I'm not able to go into on any other social media platform. And that's why I love the podcast, because I can just really express myself and go deep with you so you walk away with, a new sense of self and wisdom and actionable things to do that are going to move you forwards to creating not just the business you desire, but also the life that you desire. And more importantly, deserve. You so very much deserve it. So This is going to be a really, really fun episode. I'm so freaking excited. Very grateful to Ellie for interviewing me, and I'm very grateful for everyone that submitted their questions. It means the world to me. So without further ado, I've said my thank yous and I'm truly feeling it. Let's dive into the 100th podcast episode of Rising Coaches with Sofia Bernardi. Hello, Ellie. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today.
Such a pleasure to be here. I love that I get to be in the host seat today.
I know, bit of a change up for the podcast. I'm really excited about it. I've never done anything like this, to be honest. And I thought, who better than my coach who knows me so well on the inside and out when it comes to business and life.
So good. Well, it's such a privilege to get to do this. I feel very, very honored that I get to ask you these questions, and it's really nice to reflect as well. I think, I'm so insanely proud of you and your journey, and you just lean into life and business so fully. And for us to get to sit and talk about all the things that you've done, all of which have just been so, so intentional, is really cool, because I think there's going to be so much that people are going to be able to really learn and take from the episode.
100%. And I'm really grateful for everyone's questions that they submitted. And I know that you have a couple of as well. So really excited.
So good. All right. Do you want me to dive in?
Go for it.
Okay. So as you said, I know that you've had a bunch of questions submitted, and I really like these questions because I think there's like a really good mix of business stuff and also life and mindset things that are just really relevant as well to anyone that's starting a business. So let's kick off from the top. What's something not many people know about you?
I was thinking about this when I saw this question come in. I feel like there's two things I want to say. One is more of a funny one that my friends always like make a joke of. And that is that I ran a marathon by myself in 2020. Like, I was training for a marathon, and then obviously we all know what happened in 2020, and the marathon itself canceled. And I just decided one day, like, I just so spontaneously woke up and I was like, I feel like going for a run. I'm going to see how far I can go. And if I, injure myself or whatever, I can just call someone to pick me up. And nothing ever went wrong. So I ended up running the whole thing by myself, like didn't tell anyone, didn't have any water on me, like didn't have a cheer squad or anything. And like midway through the marathon, I just called Geordie. I'm like, just letting you know, like I'm halfway through a marathon, and like all my friends just laugh at me so much. And I don't think I realized how abnormal that was until after I did it.
Okay, I feel like we just opened with like the most Sofia thing. So in our inner circle, it's just such a joke of like, oh yeah, that's just like the most Sofia, like the most Soph thing ever. And that is classic example. You've never told me that story. That's
I know.
So
that's why I wanted to say it, because I don't think you knew. And like, literally, I think that's something not many people actually know. So I thought that's why I would share that.
That is fucking brilliant. I'm obsessed with that story. Okay, what's the second one?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, on a more serious note, I would say something that I probably can never seem to get across in the depths that I feel it is probably just how much I care. Like, care about my clients, the world, my relationships, like everything I do and I say, like, I just really deeply care about. So I feel like people know that, but it's really hard to get across like the depths of it. And I feel like you would be one of the rarer ones that actually know that behind the scenes, because I'm having conversations with you about it.
I feel like, everyone obviously has a story when they come into starting their business as well, but your story is genuinely a story of how can I support people to better their lives? Like that was the whole reason you started your business, right? And I mean, yeah, people come into business with so many different whys, so many different reasons for doing it. And yours has obviously expanded so that now you work with people through the lens of business. But I know your why was always to how can I really support people to live a better life? Because that was your experience, right? I mean, you've navigated so much in your childhood and in your teen years in terms of like just the bigness of change and different circumstances. Do you think that, and this is just me riffing on this now, like, do you think that your life experience is the reason you care so much?
I definitely think so. I feel like if, everything was like this big fairy tale and had gone according to how I desired, I suppose, I probably wouldn't have like the depth of like the wisdom or experience and things like that. And I feel like that just adds to care factor because I can empathize with a lot of people's scenarios. Like if they're feeling stuck, if they're feeling lost, if they're in a situation they're not entirely happy with, like I can just empathize with that. Whereas if I hadn't gone through a challenge or challenges myself, I probably just wouldn't relate or understand as much and therefore struggle to empathize at a deep level. So I feel like for that reason, I definitely think it contributes.
Yep, I see that. I really see that. And that transcends and spans across absolutely everything you do. So I love the mix of those. That really highlights and showcases your personality very well.
I know. That's why I thought I should share both of them.
Okay, so let's stick on the younger self train. What are 3 pieces of advice you'd give to your younger self?
Yeah, wow. Okay, so I feel like self-love is just a big one. Like this is something my grandma always reminded me of and still does to this day. She's like, loving yourself is like the most important thing, and just like feeling deeply enough. Like I feel like that's something I really, really struggled with for such a long time in my life, is just like not feeling good enough, whether it was like not smart enough, like successful enough, like healthy enough, like whatever it is, just like always not enough. And I've just realized, like, out of everything I've learned and done, like that's been like the most important part is feeling enough. Like that's the key to success and fulfillment. So that's one. The other thing is that this will change, like just reminding that like whatever season I'm in, however I'm feeling and whatever's coming up for me in this moment, like it will change. So just surrender. So that goes for like the good things, knowing that that will also pass. So like be grateful for it. And then the darker seasons, knowing that like that's going to pass. So like no need to catastrophize it, kind of thing. And that's something I learned at a 10-day meditation retreat I went to. Like I just experienced that at a deep level. And then the third thing would probably be that consistency is key. So never give up. I feel like if I had that reminder when I felt like I was doing lots of things in my business and, things weren't working, or again, any area of life, just remembering that like consistency is the key to it working out. And so just keep going, essentially.
Love that mix. So good. Okay, if you could start again in business, what would you do differently?
Oh my God. Okay. So I think I don't like to live by regrets. So I don't really have much to say to this other than, if I could, I guess I wish I just trusted that I had everything I needed a little earlier on, because the very first strategy that I wasn't actually told to do, but felt called to do, was to run events. And I did that. It worked and I had so much fun. And then it was like other marketing that I saw from other coaches online that totally swayed me in different directions for a very long time, like feeling like I was missing something and needed to do this and then it would work even better or whatever else. And it's just funny that like 3 years later, I've really just come to this epiphany that actually I've everything I need and more. And the very first thing I felt called to do is like the absolute core of my entire success in business. So that would probably be the only thing, is just like trusted that I had everything I needed. And that's something you've always really helped me with as well. And I feel like it would have saved me a lot of money and time, to be honest, had I just trusted that earlier.
I think it's so good that you've had that experience, because I know that that's something that likely comes up with your clients so much as well. And, I just to like strengthen that, I relate to that so much. And I think that so often, the successful business owners I see, if you ask that question, there's a similar answer there, which is really cool, because basically what we're saying is like, the only thing you need to do is to trust yourself more. And so if you actually trust yourself more and you move forward with things rather than sitting in the like, what ifs, I'm not sure, whatever else, like think about how much you could do faster. And, we see it all the time with clients as well, right? Just sitting in that indecision or sitting in not being sure. Whereas if you take action and you move forward, actually, you're going to make some really great mistakes, but you're going to learn the lessons quicker. And so I love that. And I especially love like the piece you're talking to here around trusting yourself and not feeling like there's a secret that you're missing, because it's so interesting watching. There's usually like a tipping point I see with clients where it's like up to a certain point, they're like subconsciously or unconsciously searching for that secret. And then there's a point of which it's like, oh, I know there is no secret. And I remember seeing that and witnessing that in you. And like, I don't know if this feels true for you, but I feel like from my side, everything shifted when you took on that belief, when you were like, actually, I know that there's not a single secret. I don't know. Does that feel true for you?
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, that's why the first thing I said is like, I don't regret anything, because it's taught me so much about what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And it allows me to really deeply support my clients, because I know that what feels good to me might not feel good to them. And I've experienced pretty much every strategy under the sun when it comes to online coaching, marketing, I suppose. And so I'm really able to like add my 2 cents and the strategy for all of those things. So no regrets whatsoever, but definitely like just relaxing and realizing that like I have everything I need and more, and that deep trust is like so key, right? So yeah, that would be the only thing.
Are there any practices that you think you could recommend for anyone that's listening to anchor into that self-trust?
I suppose, you know, and this is a little bit of practice, but like really listening to yourself, like does this feel really good? Does this energize me or does this drain me? I feel like is something to really lean into. Like running events has always energized me. It feels really good. And so I feel like trusting that nudge and going in that direction is really helpful. It can take time for things to feel good. And that's why, again, like you and I talk about consistency a lot. And I've already mentioned it in this podcast episode, because you have to give things a real good go before you really know. Like a lot of my first events, like failed miserably, like lots of things went wrong. Also things went right. But if I had, you know, made like a permanent decision because something didn't go 100%, I also wouldn't have the business I have today. So, you know, it's this nice balance of like giving things a real good crack and like going all in on it, but also listening to yourself and like, does this feel good? Is this something I actually wake up and want to do every day? And if it is, then I just recommend like blocking out all other noise of like, this is the better way or this is the better way. Like if this feels good to you, then you just got to go all in on that.
Yes. And like bold, underlined, exclamation mark, the piece you said there about blocking out other noise.
Yeah, I like do not listen to any other coach now other than you. Like I just blocked it all out, not because those people aren't amazing or inspiring or have great value to add, like they absolutely do, but I just found it really impacted me for a long time, getting this like really strong conflicting messaging all of the time. And it was like obviously my own responsibility, but it always just left me in this place of like, oh, I'm missing something, or I'm not like this person, or I need to learn this now. I need to like I'm doing it wrong, instead of just like trusting, like actually like I have everything. And after investing in so many different containers, I just realized that pretty much everyone is more or less teaching very similar things. And it was the shiny marketing on the outside. And so that's where I just learned at a deep level. You've just got to find your coach that, you know, you want to like be surrounded by all of the time, and you just like love their energy and their way of doing things, and then just trust that that's more than enough kind of thing.
And for the coaches that are listening, I just want to highlight something that you said just there that's so great, is that so, you know, you just spoke to for a long time there, you were bringing in like, but am I missing this, or do I need to do this, or whatever else? And sometimes I think that coaches can view that as like, through the lens of frustration, because they're like, my client doesn't trust me in my recommendations. But that's never, ever the case. It's always a reflection of your clients not trusting themselves. And so how can you support your client to trust themselves deeper? Because in our relationship, I know what you're saying is like, you're choosing to just listen to me, which is almost like saying you're choosing to just listen to yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm a reflection to that, because, and, there'll be times where you and I might disagree on stuff or whatever. And like our relationship is very much like, you're the CEO in your business and I'm here to reflect and mirror back. And so that's so cool what you just said there. It's like, you've made that decision of like, you trust yourself so wholeheartedly. And because of that, you've just chosen like, here's my one coach that I'm working with that gets to be that reflection and that mirror to me deeply trusting myself. And so I wanted to make that point because I think it's so useful for any coaches that are listening. If you've got a client that continually is coming to you and sharing like, what about this? Are we missing this strategy? It's very, very infrequently a reflection of your coaching, and most often a reflection of like, there's a piece there where they're not fully trusting themselves. And so how can you support them to anchor deeper into that?
100%. And that's what I love about coaching, is that it's really just about asking questions, like powerful questions. And of course, having discussions in and around that more so than telling. And I think that is what I now do at a really deep level for my clients so that they can trust themselves. So instead of me just telling them like black or white, like, yep, do that, don't do that. I ask them like, does this feel good for you? Is this what you want to do? Like, what comes up for you here? And asking those questions so that they're not fully reliant on me, but actually anchoring into their own personal power to find the answers within them. And that builds self-trust.
100%. And then also just to speak to your brilliance here, I think the thing that makes you really great is like, behind that coaching, like you said before, because you really have gone all in your business, you've really honed your chops in like so many strategies. And I think probably more than anyone, the work you put into delivery and like constantly learning and diving really deeply into different strategies and different ways of working and different funnels. I truly think that from where I'm sitting, I get to see that so clearly. And I think it's just really important to speak to that. Like, you are such a great coach, but then on the back end of that, you also are someone who can be like, right, okay, let's now talk about like the 10-step process behind that. And here's the things you get to go and do.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, so what are the 5 non-negotiables that you do every day in your business?
Yeah, I had to think about this because every day is a little bit different, right? But the things that I would say are non-negotiables is I focus on my own mind and body first. Like before I do anything else, I find that I'm going to show up as a better partner, as a better coach, and just human being in general if I work on myself first. So I've already done that this morning. Like before I did anything work related, I went for a 2-hour walk, and that just like sets me up for my day. So I would say
just a 2-hour walk. Okay, I feel like we need to coin. I totally cut you off there. But we need to coin a term of like, she really like Sophia'd the situation here. Like, I just casually went for a 2-hour walk.
I love walking. I'm obsessed with it. So yeah, 2 hours. Okay, not every day.
From this episode, Sophia ran a marathon and she starts her day with a 2-hour walk. I love you.
Oh my God, that's funny. So yeah, I would focus on my walk first thing. And it's just such a nice time to be in nature, be in the fresh air. And I listen to podcasts. So I feel like I'm working on my mindset at the same time. I listened to your podcast this morning on my 2-hour walk.
Hope you enjoyed it.
I did. And so that's what I do first. The second thing I do is connect with my team and with you. So already done both of those things as well today. So yeah, I like to touch base with my team. Where are they at? What are they focusing on? Do they need anything from me? And then if I have any questions for you, I like voice message you. Then I like check in with my clients. So respond to all of their Slack messages or like reply in the Facebook group, whatever it is, like just supporting my clients. And then I probably respond to all messages in order of importance in terms of like potential clients or emails that have come through or just conversations I'm in at the moment. Like I go through all of them and just like clear that out. So I'm always getting back to people and things like that. And then the last thing is probably taking action in my current launch. So whatever I'm doing like or promoting in this moment, I then take action on that. So if I'm promoting a freebie, I'll make sure like I go live or I talk on my stories or I do a post. Like I've done those things today as well, like speaking into the freebie, or if I'm promoting an event, so forth. So that's kind of the activities I do to like attract new people and then nurture my current audience as well. So they're probably the 5 non-negotiables.
I think what's so cool about that is like, it sounds like a lot, but I know that, for example, there are all things that you could do in like 30 minutes.
Yeah, like literally all of those things I was able to do also on my walk, which is kind of what I love about like what I do and how I do things. Like when I was on my walk, I listened to a podcast episode, connected with you, connected with my team, responded to all of my clients, went live on my walk and talked on my stories and posted a reel, like all in that time. And it's like, it's 10 a.m. All of my tasks are done for the day. Like that's what I love about being organized, having clarity on what you're doing, where, why, how, and all of those things is like, I've literally done everything today. And the rest is just like what I genuinely feel like doing. And obviously I spend a lot of time in conversation with my clients. So that happens throughout the day. But to know that I've like already done the majority of like the most important needle movers, like first thing in the morning, is just so cool. And I was able to like be doing 2 things at once, which just is like ultimate productivity.
Totally. And I think that's so key what you spoke to there. I mean, that ultimate productivity thing about doing multiple things at once, but also doing the biggest needle movers first. So, you know, things like selling those key conversations, not leaving that till later in the day because it's the thing that you're putting off. Like for most of us, we are at our peak earlier in the day. I mean, the science tells us, right, that our decision making is better first thing in the morning, that we're more alert in the morning, and we start to lose a lot of our like natural cognitive function later into the day. And so looking at what you can do early in the day that's really going to support you. I love that. So good. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. We've got a question about your circle of friends.
Mhm.
So I know that you obviously share and post on your socials about how much you love your circle of friends and how like that's a part of your life that you really invest into. How did you find an aligned circle of friends?
Yeah, that's such a great question. So I like when I started my business, I found I actually lost a lot of people that were like school friends and like were in my circle at the time. I suppose like just moving in different directions, different stages of life. And you know, as you grow and evolve, sometimes with that comes outgrowing certain people. And that was really hard for a point in time because I am someone that deeply cares and did used to struggle with like letting go of things, even if they weren't fully aligned, which I'm nothing like now, but at the time it was really hard for me. So I went through this little period where I didn't feel like I had that aligned friendship group that I so badly desired. But I think through like really working on myself, being able to properly let go of like people and situations that didn't serve me, it then created a lot of space for what I did want. And so I think it was this mixture of having clarity on what I didn't want in friends and then what I did want in friends, and then taking action based on that is how I found them. So with that information, I then put myself in different environments where I knew those aligned people would be. And so I would go to like networking events and like business like catch up groups and things like that. And that's where I met all of my bestest friends today. And we are so close. Like we're all going on holiday next month and like so many incredible things. And my favorite thing is that we are all there for each other, like unconditionally in the good times and in the bad times. And that's what I really wanted. So yeah, to answer your question, I feel like it was this mixture of like, I had to go through, you know, uncomfortable experiences to realize like, okay, like this is not the standard that I want in my friendships. Like this is what I don't want. So what do I want? And then where are those people? And then I had to lean into that. And I feel like that same process applies for so many areas of life, like intimate relationships and business and things like that. It's really getting clear, like what do you want? What don't you want? And then what are you going to do about that kind of thing? So that's how I found most of them. And then obviously some just through meeting other people and then their friends and so forth.
What I really hear and like what I'm taking from that as I'm listening is, so I think that, when we do start a business, like you said, we're going through so many significant changes. I mean, starting a business is up there with one of the biggest personal development journeys you can go on, right? And so
Yeah.
we make so many changes, and we're also, changing the way that we're living our life, creating these new boundaries around how we're now spending our time. Perhaps we're saying no to more things. And something I hear a lot, and I know you do too, is that like, how do I maintain my friendships during this time? It just feels so hard. And what's so cool about what you said is like, it's almost like during that time, how can we just allow ourselves to prioritize our business and really trust that the friendships that are meant to stay with us will, through clear communication, of course, of like, hey, this is the journey that I'm going on, but not being afraid and not feeling like we have to cling really tightly to any of those friendships that might naturally fall away, because actually there's like more friendships to come. I
Mm.
often think about the fact that like there are so many people in our lifetime that we love that we're yet to meet.
That's a cool
You
thought to
know?
have.
Isn't it? I think about it all the time. There's like little people that aren't born yet that we're just going to love so deeply, and friends that we haven't met yet. I got married like 2 years ago now, and already I know my guest list would be slightly different now. And like, just how cool
That's
is that?
cool.
That there's,
Yeah.
there's people that you meet. And so it's great because it's just that reminder of like more amazing people are going to come into your life, and we don't need to cling. I mean, it's a metaphor for everything really. Like, what happens if we don't cling so tightly to, the fear of losing friends, but rather we trust that the right people are going to come in. The more we anchor deeper into who we are and our truth, we're going to meet more of those aligned friends. And I think that's the really cool thing that you've done, is it's like you live your truth so fully. And I know that for you, you're just living the most aligned life for you. And I think that's the reason why you've attracted so many amazing people, because you're so wholeheartedly yourself and you're so willing to go there from that place. And so therefore you get to attract like a really amazing depth of friendship. Does that feel true?
100%. And thank you for saying that. I feel like, going through that journey of losing, I suppose, people that weren't so aligned with me in the end, like I really had to do a lot of like healing and growth through that experience, believe it or not. And I feel like I just stepped into a more whole version of me, which really supported me, in regards to like finding, people that were more of a match for me. And so it's so funny because at the time it was like such a painful experience. I'm like, why aren't I close with these people? Why like don't they feel connected with me, and those sorts of things. And I made it so wrong. And if only I had known that like it's really just because there was something so much better coming. And now the friendships I have today, I'm like, oh, this is why I went through that, because like I have such a deep appreciation for them now, because I also, again, know what it feels like to not have the greatest friends that can't hold your successes and your big wins, or, completely disconnect with you when you're going through a really hard time. Like I really needed people to be there for me in both times. Like my last friendship group, I suppose, they were there when like things were crumbling and your life was like shitty. But then when I started doing really well and becoming really happy in my business, that's like a lot of energy, I think, for people to hold at times. And I feel like they really struggled with that. And, I'm just so glad I didn't just deal with that and then just suppress that part, when really that, I want people to be able to hold the bigness, because that's the direction that I'm, always wanting to move into. And it's really cool that with my friendships now and everyone in my life, to be honest, that they can just like be a cheerleader kind of thing.
Yeah, they can love you in your pain, and they can love you in your success.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, what are the things that have changed your business and your life the most?
I think definitely like hiring a coach for sure. Like that, I don't think I would be standing here with a business at all if I didn't have a coach, of course. So I really think, like, I know it's such an annoying answer sometimes. It's like, oh, of course, but seriously, I would not be here. Like I would have gotten in my way too much on my own. and just like investing in personal development in general. Like that's completely changed my life. Like I was actually talking to someone about this who was like supporting me in the very beginning of my journey, like just a family friend. And, you know, we're just talking about like how much has changed in the last few years. And I totally bring it down to like the personal development that I've invested in through different containers and events and coaches and things like that. And then I think the other thing would be like setting really big goals for myself and leaning into that. So I feel like if I had set really small goals on my journey, I might not be where I am now, but because I really stretch myself, even if I don't reach the goal, I typically get a lot closer to that goal than if I had just set an achievable one. So I would say like putting myself out there, like out of my comfort zone, and like having a clear goal or target, I suppose, that's really far away to lean into. Like those are the two things that have really impacted me.
Yes, I love that answer so much. I had no idea how you were going to answer that, and that was just like the best answer. How have your surroundings impacted your business? So I guess this is like your environment.
Oh, significantly. Like your environment is absolutely everything. Like it kind of goes back to having a coach, right? Like me being in your energy, like with your success, not just in your business, but in your life, like really has shifted me. And then everyone in the inner circle as well, like that proximity is huge. And then same with like, again, friendships, intimate relationship, family, even like your home, like how you make your environment and your space feel. I feel like all of that just makes the biggest difference ever. So I would say surroundings is everything. Like I've recently just moved interstate as well. And like I'm the same human being, yet I feel so different just because I've put myself in a completely different environment. Like my morning routine looks different because, you know, where I walk is like a different area and it's so beautiful, and it completely just like shifts my mood and like the view from my home. Like, and I know that you've recently moved into your dream home and I've seen a shift in you as well. Like your environment just plays the biggest role. So I just like the only answer I have is like, it has significantly impacted my business. It's everything.
I love that answer. And, you know, I'm just going to add to that as well, because you mentioned it. For me, it's something where I've been reminded of that recently. Like, I think there was a period of time there where perhaps I kind of told myself the story because we'd really outgrown our home. Like I was very much in a season of like, we've outgrown our home, but we can't find the next one yet. And so, you know, classic mindset work, I was like, that's okay. Here's all the reasons why this home is still amazing and blah, blah, blah. And then when we did move, and all of that is true, and all that mindset work was perfect at the time, but then expanding into, yes, like this next home, this next environment, it's really reminded me again of, oh my goodness, like when you can make your space your own, when you can, be in a place that inspires you, that makes you feel creative. I think especially in the work that we do, we are tapping into our creativity so much. We're coming up with, you know, intuitive thought because we're coaching. And so, it's so huge. And I think that, you know, I think about like, for example, and I know it's the exact same for you. When I first started my business, it was from my 1-bedroom apartment. My now husband, I used to like send him down to the pub so that I could do a coaching call from our like 4-person tiny dining room table in our 1-bedroom apartment, you know? And so we're definitely not saying like you can't thrive if your environment's not amazing, but it's more playing with like, what can you do that's within your control each and every day to inspire yourself, whether it's drive to the suburb that you really want to live in and go for an amazing walk there, or have a few like beautiful things at your desk that just make you feel really inspired, like really beautiful. Like it doesn't take a lot. It's just those small things that can often really ignite something in you, right?
Yeah, and like interrupting this podcast episode quickly to tell you all of the ways we can work together. If you are loving this episode so far, then I have a feeling you're going to love working together too. I have different programs dependent on your budget and your starting point to support you every step of the way in starting, growing, and scaling your online coaching or service-based business. If you would like to learn more about which program may be the right fit for you, there are 2 things you can do. 1, come message reach me on either Facebook or Instagram. I am at Sofia Rose Bernardi, or you can head to my website, sofiarosebernardi.com, where I share very transparently all of my offers, the inclusions, the costs, and everything. I've done my very best to make everything extremely accessible, dependent on your stage of business, and extremely supported so that you are supported with everything you need, whether it's your mindset, your strategy, and your energy. Know that that is the 3 core foundations that I am teaching across all of my programs, as when you master those 3 pillars, you are able to then create aligned, scalable results in your business. I'd love to work with you. Let's chat. Check out my website. I'm happy to answer any and all questions, and I would love to work with you.
Right.
Yeah, and like even just going to a cafe, like it's just such a little thing that you can do to just like shift things up. I found that makes a really big difference. And then for anyone that's familiar with human design, like Ellie and I, we're both manifesting generators. And I know for many gens, like environment plays such a huge role as well. So I feel like that in particular for like my personality, like environment is so important for me.
Yes, definitely. And not necessarily in the same way, right? So like my husband Shay is a manny gen as well, and he doesn't work well from home at all. And this is something he's really realized recently. You would have heard me talk about this in the podcast
Yeah.
this morning.
Yeah.
And like he thrives in an office environment. For me, like I just would much rather work in like my beautiful home office and chat with my women on, on Zoom every day. Like that is heaven to me. And so knowing, I think there's even a piece in human design. There's like knowing your environment, right? Like there's a
I think
environment
so.
thing where you can
Yeah.
learn it. I mean, Soph and I aren't human design specialists. We know it at a surface level, but go find that out because it'll be really useful information, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we're coming to the last of questions. And then if we have time, I want to do like a rapid fire. And I have no idea what the questions are going to be, which is going to make it all the more fun. What's been the biggest mindset needle mover? So I guess this question is like, what's the biggest mindset thing that has supported you most in your life and business?
Honestly, just believing that I'm more than enough, like just believing I'm good enough.
Love it. Okay, what's been the biggest and most unexpected part of starting your own company?
Yeah, I was really thinking about this one when I saw someone submit it. Honestly, probably just how much consistency pays off. Like, it's so wild to me. Like, I remember like it was yesterday, like feeling like everything was hard, nothing was working, blah, blah, blah. Like, I remember being in that phase of my business and it felt like forever. And I'm just so glad for that younger version of myself that just like kept going, even though it felt so hard. And even though it felt like it wasn't working sometimes, it was. My brain just catastrophized it. And it's just like when I reflect on where I am now, I really bring it down to, well, I've been doing the same thing, like commitment to mastery and depth around this for 3.5 years. And that's why it works. Like, I don't believe in overnight successes. I don't believe like, you don't work for it. Like, I think everyone that is a 6-figure coach, multi-6-figure millionaire and beyond, like it's because they work really hard. It might not appear like that way in the moment because their lifestyle has shifted so much with where they're at. But absolutely when they started, just like you were saying, like in the small unit, like doing the best you can, like with what you've got and just like finding a way, like you have trade-offs, you work hard. And I'm just so glad that like, even when it was really hard, I kept going.
Yes, I love that so, so much. Yeah, when it was really hard, you kept going. Can I add to that as well? Something that I think you do really, really well, just when people are like biggest and most unexpected part of starting your own company, just that concept of like starting your own company. I think that can sound really daunting. And something that I think you've done really well is you've lent into every aspect of the business that you perhaps didn't know anything about. So I know, when we've talked bookkeeping, when we've talked literally like structuring your company and, things like end of year tax distribution and profit distribution, like all those conversations that can feel really, really big and like we know nothing about them. Like you've just lent into the not knowing and taught yourself so much along the way and learnt from people along the way. Something I say all the time, you've heard me say it a million times, is I think the smartest people in any room are the people who often ask the seemingly dumbest questions because they're not afraid. They're not afraid to ever look stupid. They just want to know the answers because they know that if they know the answers, then they're going to be able to do better and do more. And you do that so, so well. Like you always ask the questions from everyone around you, and you're not afraid to ask those questions. And I think it's just a sign of somebody who is naturally very intelligent and very motivated when they ask a lot of questions, big or small, and they're not afraid to do so. So I think anyone who's listening to this and starting a business, another thing that I see in Soph that you get to take from her is that she's so great at leaning into every aspect, even if it all feels hard, because there's so much when you're starting a company that's going to feel hard.
Yeah, thank you for saying that because yeah, I definitely do ask a lot of questions, and
Right.
that's something I'm always telling my clients. I'm like, I really show up for the container that I invest in. Like I speak to my coach most days of the week, and I'm asking her questions, even if I know the answer. Sometimes, like having that soundboard and that conversation can be so powerful. It's like I can do it on my own, but why would I want to when it could be faster and easier and more like enjoyable having a conversation with someone? So I definitely believe in the power of like asking quality questions, like you said, big and small. And like you and I have this running joke that like you're so much more than a business coach with me. You're like relationship coach, life coach, interior designer coach, like financial advisor. Like you just like give me, like you help me with more than just business.
Did you add in style coach there? Because I'm annoyed if you didn't.
Yeah, I said interior designer coach.
Okay, great. Amazing. I'm teasing, obviously.
Oh yeah,
I
and
think
styler coach. Yeah, how could I forget? Yeah.
I love it. I think something that's so cool about that, and obviously we're just like teasing about all of that, but what is awesome that you're speaking to there is you lean in holistically with me. So I get to know like everything about your life, and therefore I can support you so holistically because of that. And I
Mm.
think that that's a really great thing to do with your coach is no matter the container dynamic, like share with your coach where you're at, because whilst yes, we're not going to run our business based on our feelings, we're still one person. And so, you might be navigating something in your personal life where your coach can pick up that that's something that's kind of coming into your business and maybe impacting your business that doesn't need to be there, or vice versa. And so that's it's a really great thing, I think, when you lean in with your coach holistically and you're not afraid to show every part of yourself, because you're just going to get much better support if you do that.
Yeah. And I think, how you do one thing is how you do many things. And so, like, if you have a coach that can support you with, like, yeah, more holistically, I think that's really beneficial. And that's why I don't just teach strategy. Like, I very much teach psychology and energy as well, because, like, it really requires all three to thrive in business. And so I always welcome to my clients that, to not leave anything off the table. Like, if it is a relationship thing they're going through or a life thing, to bring that up, because it does touch business.
I love that. Okay, two more questions from me, and then let's finish with a quick rapid fire.
Cool.
So, what's been your greatest achievement in your business? Like, what are you most proud of?
Greatest achievement in my business. That's a really good question. I would say, probably just like supporting my clients, like that's actually, it's changed their life. Like anything that's helped people change their life. Like I was on a call with a client yesterday and she said, like, you don't know this, Sofia, but I just want to let you know, like one of your modules in like your program on forgiveness, like again, not really related to business itself. She's like, I just want you to know, like that completely changed my life. Like it saved my marriage. It's like how I'm able to support my 8 children today. And it made me enabled me to forgive my dad because, something really tragic happened there. And it gave me full body goosebumps. And it's like, it's little things like that, might be normal to me. And it's so life-changing to other people. And I just think more than money, more than anything, like when she told me that the other day, like, it just made my whole week. I'm like, I didn't know it had that impact, and it had that impact, and that ripples into business and many areas of life as well. And I just think like that is far more rewarding than anything. Like, yes, I've had great wins of like, reaching huge milestones financially in short periods of time, and my age and like lack of qualification as well in the beginning and things like that. But what's way more exciting is honestly just like when I get messages like that from my clients saying like that their life has changed, or they now are full-time doing something they love as opposed to something they hate, just like things like that. Like that's really, really rewarding.
Yeah, I love that so much. Okay, last question from me before we go rapid fire. You're one of the most motivated people I know. You get shit done quickly. What drives you in those moments? What's driving you? What's fueling you?
I ask myself this all the time because I do recognize I have an extreme amount of drive that I don't see in everyone, which is okay. And so I'm always asking myself, like, what is it that I do or say or think differently to some other people? And so, of course, there's numerous things that drive me, but I suppose going back to what we spoke about in the very beginning, like with the life situations I went through in my late teens with like my dad having a gambling addiction and moving like unexpectedly overseas and starting again like in another culture and language and just all of that. And then all sorts of things that came along with that were really, really challenging. That just linked so much pain. Like I can't tell you how hard those years were for, again, numerous different reasons. And I think I realized that no one was coming to save me. Like my parents like weren't emotionally able to support me or provide for me at all. And so I didn't have anything to fall back on if something was to go wrong. And so I just had to work hard. Like I just had to, because I didn't have anyone coming to like hold me, if that makes sense. And that might sound like really horrible. And thankfully things aren't like that anymore. Like I have a great relationship with my whole family, but there just was a period there where they just weren't there to like support me emotionally. And you need that as a teenager. And I think you need that as a human being, like from your people. And because I didn't have that, I just like had to figure it out. And so that's one thing. It's like, that's the painful side of it. But then at the same time, when I started like diving into personal development, like looking for answers on like how to be happy in general from those experiences, I just realized that there is a way out and there is another side to life. And then through investing in myself, again, like we were talking about, putting yourself in different environments, I started to realize like, there's just so like much infinite possibility. And so then I really focused and leaned in on that. And then I think the last thing that really drives me, which is quite funny because I'm not planning on having children for like several more years, but I don't really want my children, my future children, to go through like at the depths what I had to go through. And so working hard now and creating a different lifestyle than my parents have ever been able to have really drives me, so that I don't put my children in that same situation, because that was difficult for everyone. And it's really sad that like I've done things that my parents have never been able to do. And so that does drive me, I would say, like it's like my future family, believe it or not.
I love that answer so much. So that's inspiring and beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's going to really hit home with a lot of people. Okay. Really quick, fun, rapid fire to finish this off. I'm just going to throw like a bunch of random questions at you. Hit me with like 1 or 2 word answers.
Go for it.
All right. Favorite color?
Blue.
Favorite food?
Pasta.
Favorite holiday destination?
That I've been to?
Yeah.
I really liked Croatia.
Where do you want to go next?
Far out. I would like to go to, one day I'd love to go to Hawaii.
Love it. Thing you're most excited about in your business right now?
My new course launching.
Amazing. Thing that you are most obsessed with in your life right now?
Oh my God, my home, obsessed.
I knew you were going to say that. And favorite quote?
This too shall pass.
Last one, favorite hobby?
Boxing or walking.
Love it. Love it. Sophia Rose Bernardi, thank you so much for having me here to celebrate you and your 100th episode. It's a really massive achievement to do 100 podcast episodes. Like, you think about what goes into 100 podcast episodes. So just want to take a second to just celebrate you for that. It's huge. It just demonstrates like your consistency and your desire to show up for your people and serve them and support them. And for anyone that's listening who's a newer listener, there's so much value for you to go back and listen to over these 100 episodes. So make sure that you do. And thank you for having me. It's just been such a pleasure. I just love you so much. I'm so grateful to have you in my life. You're a truly, truly phenomenal human.
That is so nice. Thank you so much for interviewing me and taking time out of your day and asking me all those questions. And thank you to everyone that submitted a lot of those questions. I really appreciate it. And yeah, 100 episodes, big milestone. So thank you so much.
Such a pleasure. I've loved it.
Are you ready to create aligned, scalable results in your coaching or service-based business? If so, I'd love to work with you. I support my clients through all stages in business through my signature programs. Rise to Coach, which is for new coaches or service providers wanting to sign their first clients through setting rock-solid foundations. Or we have Rise with Events, my self-paced lifetime access course for those wanting to focus solely on learning how to plan, promote, and present highly impactful online events to grow your business. And Rise to Six, the mastermind for rising coaches to scale to consistent 10K months and beyond. If you are a listener of this podcast, I know one of these programs will be for you, depending on your stage in business. You can click the link in the description to learn more about all of my offers and see if any of these are the right fit for you, or feel free to message me on Instagram at Sofia Rose Bernardi and let's chat. Until then, I'll see you in next week's episode.